Oh, and thank you to the regular council meeting of the District of Hardy, March 28th. Respectfully acknowledging that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Kaurna people, the Otipemisiwak. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, and may I have approval of the agenda as presented? Councillor Tidbury, Councillor Dukas. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes of the special council meeting held March 14th, 2023 for adoption. Councillor Dorward, Councillor Tidbury. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held March 14th, 2023 for adoption. Councillor Tidbury, Councillor Dukas. Comments? Sorry. Favor? Minutes of the regular council meeting held March 14th, 2023 for adoption. Councillor Texmo, Councillor Dorward. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of council held March 16, 2023 for adoption. Councillor Tidbury, Councillor Dorward.
I did just have one thing on here that I didn't see in the minutes of this, but near the end of the meeting, we talked to a gentleman from TELUS about, we know it was really expensive to get cell coverage, but if we could, where there is cell coverage, if we could boost it, or we talked about a few positions on the highway.
Didn't we talk about here at Paul McNeil?
That's right.
That we wanted to see if we could improve that area?
A little bit of gap coverage, so we
Yeah.
did talk about that. I didn't notice that in the minutes. We could just note that we did sort of look like for sort of an interim measure until we have full coverage. That's all.
So do we want to put that as an amendment?
I think it's
I think it was part of the discussion.
Yeah, I think it's important to know because
Yeah.
beyond just full coverage, we can't get full coverage.
So in that case, the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting are 16 as amended. Moved by Councillor Dorward, seconded by Councillor Tidbury. All in favor? Carried. We have delegations of Julie Rushton from United Way, update to council. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you. My name is Julie Rushton. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about United Way. And I first have to just let you know that I'm so excited to be here. I grew up on the North Island and moved away about 15 years ago. So I was raised there. I started raising my children and spent a lot of time in Port Hardy working. And I'm really excited to be here tonight. So thank you for your time. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about social issues and United Way in the community of Port Hardy. One thing that United Way works to do is to strengthen connections that help to build healthy communities across the province. And some of the things we've been hearing as we're out doing our work is we're wanting to listen to your community and convene and collaborate on solutions. So we really hear a lot about needs in community. And one of the things that we like to do is really build those connections so they come together and form a nice circle of support around community. We learn from other communities and we test practical solutions. So an example of that would be in Nanaimo, we do a lot of work with reaching home around homelessness. And so we have learned from those communities and we share that through our impact coordinator across our region into communities like Port Hardy. We're forging strategic partnerships with government, donors, and community partners. So we were just fortunate enough to receive $14 million over 3 years for some of our food security work across the province, and Port Hardy sees some of that funding. Some of the challenges that we're hearing as we travel through the province is that there's a lack of access to basic needs and the effects of inflation. And we go to the grocery store and we see the effects of inflation, rising cost of housing. It doesn't matter where you live, housing costs are rising. Increased demand on critical and social community services. So we're seeing nonprofits and charitable organizations have an increased demand for services, but they don't have the ability to provide all those services. So we do a lot of work with our nonprofit partners. A need for rapid and coordinated response to emergencies. So every community has a different variables that may come into play and cause a community to face an emergency. So we've seen floods and fires, several different emergencies. So we really work on responding to emergencies quickly in community. I'm very, very happy to share with you our investments, our local impact investments in Port Hardy. And, you know, one of the things that we discovered during the early days of the pandemic was food security was a major issue. And it wasn't just a major issue in terms of acquiring the food. It was really hard to disseminate food into smaller rural communities. So we've worked through with one of our agencies, Mount Waddington Family Literacy, and they support and hold funding for a community food hub. And that the food hubs really bring together all levels of partners from across the community to look at food security and what needs to happen. Business plans are made and laid out, and then these services are distributed, food programs are distributed throughout community. I want to talk to you a little bit about our Staples Back to School Supplies drive. So we invested $3,000 into Port Hardy for students who were looking to purchase additional school supplies. So what we did was we gave out gift cards worth $50 for each gift card, and that was up to the students to use as needed at a Staples location. I know there's no Staples in Port Hardy, but we really felt that it was important to extend that support to the community, because I know, I've been there, that we travel outside of community to get some of the things that are required. We really did a lot of work this year around community investment grants. So one of our priorities was around child and youth mental health. So this year we funded nearly $17,000 into the community to support children and youth who are vulnerable in terms of their mental health. And then we have our Schools Out programs, and this is something near and dear to my heart. My early days working in Port Hardy were in the early years, and so I'm really happy to tell you a little bit about the Schools Out program. The Schools Out program is a way for children who are vulnerable to achieve supports after school. So they get support with their homework, they get healthy activities, healthy food, and really join in a small group that facilitates that connectiveness to happen for these kids. So really important. One of the things that we did last year was a Schools Out summer program. So that started where we had several children out in Port Alice, Port Hardy, Port McNeill, in all of the smaller communities, come together and really get together and do some of that schoolwork that we know might have been lost over the summertime period. So it was really able to fulfill multiple needs, this program. And then I want to talk to you about Better at Home. So Better at Home is a program that has been around Port Hardy for quite a while. And we have Better at Home, which supports senior citizens to stay in their own home through volunteer support. So there's no actual food provision happening with Better at Home. It's simply just tasks that support you to stay in your home longer when you're a senior. We also have healthy aging grants and emergency response planning for seniors. So we're really trying to provide that wraparound support to seniors programming in community. And then we have Period Promise. So this year we distributed over 12,000 pieces of period products into community, as well as a micro grant. And so that micro grant goes to a local organization, and that organization purchases the products that they are that their folks that they're serving are requiring. So that was just over $800 this year to North Island Crisis and Counseling Center. So I feel like I've been talking nonstop, and I just wanted to stop and say, was there any questions about any of that information I just shared?
Comments?
Just to be clear, thanks for this, Julie. Some of the things like Better at Home and the schools out, are you working through North Island Crisis and Counseling Center with those programs?
North Island Crisis and Counseling Center and Mount Waddington Family Literacy. So we have a partnership with both.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Two of the other pieces that I wanted to let you know about were our food infrastructure grants, and we affectionately call them our FIG grants. And so what these grants are really based in providing infrastructure to community organizations serving folks in community. So Hardy Bay Senior Citizens Society, I'm sure you're all familiar with them. They provide a lot of food supports to seniors. And one thing that they said to us was they are really looking for funding to provide a generator. So I know that there's been many times when the power has gone out for a long period of time. And so they really required that generator for that work, as well as equipment to safely store their product. And so we were really blessed to be able to support this project and to provide those things to Hardy Bay Senior Citizens Society. The other piece we're really excited about is the Kwakiutl Health Center. So the health center was really looking for a way to provide natural medicines to their families. And so what we funded was a greenhouse that'll grow those traditional medicines, as well as a smokehouse that will help prepare and store food so that their culture is preserved and they have an increased access to food. So that's really my brief presentation. I just really wanted to take the opportunity to let you know about the work that United Way is doing. If you are at all interested in starting a campaign, we encourage all of our community partners to consider starting a campaign and raising funds locally for more projects to come. All of our funding, if it's raised local, it stays local. So that's one piece about being a provincial organization, is that we are still very unique in terms of our regions. So Central Northern Vancouver Island is a very unique region. And then we know that the North Island, again, is yet has even more challenges in terms of transportation, etc. So I want to thank you again for your time and for hearing all this information. Is there any questions before I leave? Or are there any questions?
Don't leave. There are some questions and some comments. So Councillor Tidbury.
Okay.
Yes, I'm on the executive of the seniors, Hardy Bay Seniors Society, and we're just overwhelmed with the money that you kind of pass our way. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I've been I'm looking after the generator actually.
Oh, wonderful! So great to hear
that. Yeah, so we're working that out right now as we speak.
We love working with the Hardy Bay seniors. They're wonderful folks.
Yeah,
they're all wonderful.
A few of our members are worried about getting reports back to you.
Oh, we'll figure it out. And if there's any help needed, simply ask, and we'll be happy to help.
Some of the areas that we're finding out now is like we need a bit longer period of time because the quotes and stuff are taking time to come into us. So
Right.
that's been a problem at the present time.
Okay, well, maybe I'll put a phone call into Hardy Bay seniors and see what we can do to support you. The goal is to support communities, so we'll do whatever is needed to provide that support.
That would be appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, you're welcome.
So
Thank
Julie,
you.
does anyone else have any comments or questions? In which case, I just want to thank you very, very much for all the support that United Way does for the Mount Washington region. I've worked closely with the Mount Washington Family Literacy Society, with the Hardy Bay Senior Society, with some of the members of the Quagga Health Center. And as well, that picture you have of a Schools Out program, which is very small on the screen, I can see one of my grandchildren in there. So
Oh,
it's so valuable, and the food that you've been able to provide through your grants to Hardy Bay seniors has been so welcomed, especially during COVID. It was incredible how well received it was, and when the seniors weren't allowed to gather, they distributed food on a weekly basis, hot meals, bags of groceries. It was kind of overwhelming, all done by volunteers, I have to say, and it's huge. The greenhouse at the Quagga Health Center is going, I follow it on social media, and the food that was produced, it was pretty cool and went mainly to the elders, if I'm correct, and children. So it's huge. So your impact throughout the area is very much felt, and it's very, very appreciated. I also want to thank publicly Mary Catherine Williams, who comes to all the Mount Washington Health Network meetings and
yes.
Informs everybody in the network about what's going on with the United Way too. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. And Mary Catherine is sorry she couldn't join me tonight. She came down sick today. So she really wanted to be here. And thank you for your feedback. It's really important, and it makes my heart swell. So thank you.
It should.
It should, yes.
Yeah.
Your impact is huge and greatly appreciated.
Wonderful. We're happy to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
other comments or questions?
It's great.
All right, I think we're good. So thank you, Jill. And I'm sure you're related to
All of the Rushton.
all the Rushton families.
Yes.
Areas north, yeah.
Yes, absolutely am.
Well, nice
It's a
to have
small
you.
community of the Mount Waddington region, isn't it? Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's right. Okay, well, you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for having me. It was my pleasure to share with you all these great programs and community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that leads very nicely into the Hatsay Language Revitalization Society presentation. Ms. Sarah Chow, would you like to have a seat?
Hatsay.
Hatsay, sorry, and I asked you how to say it, and I still said it
I
wrong.
don't have a PowerPoint. I have a mind map.
Mhm.
And it doesn't even resemble my mind because mine's very messy. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to give this all to, but I will give it to everyone here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's a couple of extras here.
Okay, if you pass it to that lady right there.
See that test plaque. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Kaylee Takis. I come from Takis. My name is Fleetly Nook. It means that I welcome the people. And I'm here on behalf of our society, which took over Grassroots Garden after Dawn moved. So that was around a year and a half ago. I think.
Yeah.
So, the transition hasn't been as smooth as we had hoped. Just because of COVID and everything, we had wanted to, get the garden growing last year and we just couldn't get the team together. When Dawn approached us, we immediately, responded and we're just so grateful to her for approaching us. To take over Grassroots after her hard work and so many years of dedication. And so I just put this mind map together about some of our work. Hase means literally the breath of our ancestors, that we carry it, and our foundation, society is about language revitalization. But we're in that work, one of the things that we aspire to do is bring our children back onto the land. And so when Dawn approached us, we're like, this is perfect, because it can provide a place that can provide some shelter and protection while we try to work with the children on the land and through the lens of the language, and help to breathe more breath back into our language work. So I'll just go from the top right. Left, I'm left-handed, I apologize. In our culture, we go this way, so I'm gonna go this way on the mind map. Our directors are currently Chief Dave Knox, our hereditary chief, Joy Wakas and Colette Child, my daughter. They've been our directors since we took over. And our plan is to grow food in the garden, but also to use it as a location for a language nest to support language learning with our children. The mandate of the garden, I guess, won't change from what Dawn was doing, although things fell to the wayside last summer because the summer was so atrocious, really, for a growing season. We have at the garden, I think you all know, she went organic, tried to be as organic as possible, and was growing vegetables. We will continue to do that in partnership with the Quails Garden Project, which Amanda Pyle is running for our nation. And the greenhouse is doing wonderfully. It looks beautiful. So hopefully the season will be a bit better this year. So Amanda does periodically, for any of you who have seen her, she's in the garden and she's trying to work on it, and our team hopefully will grow this year. And we've had the children in there and, trim the raspberries and stuff to get them prepared for this growing season, and you'll see things get more busy. We're really appreciative of, is it you, Ross? Or I can't remember the person who came and helped us with the water system. Joe. He put in a new water system for us. We paid for the equipment, but he was very generous with his time. And he, from time to time, goes and fixes the netting or the plastic fencing. Our hope is to get a better fencing system put in place, because the one that's in place is certainly not being successful in keeping out the deer. Yeah. Our goal and the vision we have for the future is to increase collaboration of the food networks that serve North Island. We know that it was a bit of a challenge, and we really hope that will change. We've been meeting with Leslie Dick, and we'll meet again in the coming months to expand our work in the garden. We've also had some preliminary discussions with North Island College, which is where I work, and they're going to be offering some continuing education gardens around organic gardening, courses around organic gardening. So we're hoping that maybe the Grassroots Garden can supply some of the space for that to happen, and perhaps expansion. My sister Sydney, she passed away in 2009, and excuse me, she had this vision for the Walden property. To put in massive greenhouses that would supply us with good nourishing food year round. And so, you know, there's a potential to grow something really wonderful. And, excuse me, I'm thinking of two people, Bev Parnham. We had dialogues around, the Walden property vision. And, she was talking about how the city had, access to funding and grants that we didn't, you know, being a city. And so we were chatting about that. And then, of course, Bev left us. So, I think that the vision of these two women, is an important one to carry through, especially for food security and sustainability for the North Island. I think of the time when we were cut off from the south, by that avalanche. And, you know, our grocery stores emptied out in very short order. And, what wasn't emptied out got trashed. So, you know, I think there's room for us all to collaborate and work together. I know that tiny little garden isn't gonna provide that, but it could be one of the, things that can help us move in that direction. Our vision is to have the garden be welcoming, and allow people to access it. We want to make sure on that regard that it's fully insured. But our society's primary use of it is as a language revitalization project, and we will grow some vegetables with the children. So that aspect of it, where Dawn supported workshops, etc., we don't have the capacity to run that. We don't have the time to run workshops and stuff. So therefore, our hope is that we rename Grassroots, because we want to, what's the word for it? Change the.
Expand on the.
We don't want to offend people who were involved in Grassroots before, but we want them to understand that we're transitioning away from what Grassroots used to be. So we want to rebrand it, I suppose. So Hase Society, we're going to disband Grassroots, and Hase Society will take over. The agreement will be in place. We'll just transition to Renew Society. This is our hope. We've been looking into the insurance, but there seem to have been some changes, so that's a little. We're still working on that. We won't let people start accessing it until the insurance is in place. And Dawn had applied for a community gaming grant prior to leaving. And with that, she had applied to erect a new shed there. It's not really a shed, it's kind of a little kitchen unit, not washroom facility. So there's funding in place to get a composting toilet and some more, a sink, etc., in a 12 by 10 cedar shed. It's not a shed, cookhouse they call it, which could supply us with cover for children and elders when we're doing language work in the garden, or for people working there. Also, we could wash the vegetables. It wouldn't be like hot running water or plumbing. That would be in place. We do have the funding for that. And so obviously we realized we had to talk to City Council about permits to put another building on there. The building would be built off-site and then moved on and put on blocks, just like the other buildings are. And we currently have, I can't remember Ernest's last name. Yeah. He's going to put some cameras in for us, because there's been some people frequenting the area that we kind of want to ward that off. Nobody's stolen anything, but we believe there might be people living in behind the garden somewhere in that plot of land behind it. And Yeah, good news about United Way.
Mhm,
I may be calling them.
mhm.
Did anybody have any questions or comments, requirements?
I'm excited. I've always been a big supporter of the grassroots,
Yeah.
but so I'm very excited and to go in another slightly different direction, especially with language and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that makes all much more. And I understand about the fence, but
Yeah,
the deer seem to get through there like nobody's business.
we got a few apples last year, but the deer
Yeah,
made quick work of them and
Yeah.
actually broke a couple of, key branches on the
Yeah.
apple trees.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's and it's a nice location too.
It is, what's interesting is like, our garden in Sakis, it's very cold there. And so the growing difference at grassroots is just, it's mind boggling. That could be so close and it's like a different climate altogether. So we'll be able to plan and strategize which plants will grow better in which garden. Yeah.
Where is this? Where's 7550 Park? Or 7580 Park Drive?
Park Drive.
Yeah.
You know where grassroots is?
No, I'm
Do
unfamiliar.
you know the ball diamond?
Yeah.
Baseball field is right adjacent to the baseball.
Yeah,
Right between the
It's right-
baseball field.
it's right
and Bears
behind it.
Way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
you'll see a fence
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
lots of deer there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, it's
troublemakers, are they?
it's a big
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like I say, I think when the grassroots, one of the problems they had towards the end, of course, was the number of people that were able to get out to kind of work on the land.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also mushrooms there in the back, shiitakes and
Oyster.
oyster mushrooms. We're gonna have to fix that up and do some, cleanup of the trail system, et cetera. So, we're gonna reach out to community for volunteers to help with that. And, the traditional garden too, so there's salal and huckleberry, et cetera, that Dawn was trying to nurture into a little traditional garden. We inherited some of the problems with the garden too,
Yeah.
that we're still trying to iron out, but coming together. We're hoping to have a really good grow season.
So thank you so much, Sarah. So as for the shed,
Yeah.
may I recommend that you talk to Ross at some point to make sure that
Okay,
all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed
Okay.
with
Yeah.
at the construction and what's allowed and stuff like that. And how to make it work really
Yeah.
well for everybody. Want to thank you very much for the presentation, but also that you're going forward with the language revitalization and the garden. And I really like that you're working with Leslie, because there were some different issues, as we're all aware, with the grassroots
Mhm.
and working together with other people. So having the courses around organic gardening with the college and with other gardening courses will be really, really good and really welcome.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm excited.
Kayla Kesta. I love Leslie.
Yes.
Everybody loves her.
Wow. I love Leslie. She's run into a few people that,
Yeah.
so thank you very
Kayla
much.
Kesta.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. Not everybody wants to
Nobody will be
stay.
offended if you.
Yeah, nobody will be offended at all.
I didn't know.
All right, so moving on, we've got business arising from the minutes. The council action item report from March 14th for information. Any comments, questions? We have no new business, but we have a lot of correspondence we have from Jen Ford, UBCM President, the provincial response to our 2022 resolution for information. Any comments or questions? Counselor Darwood?
Yes, let me just see which one it was here. I think it was the housing. One of them said that there have been in the last few years housing going in our area.
Yeah,
That's the
that
first
was,
one.
that's for the Guasla Network, that
Sorry, I
ban.
heard. Oh, was it? Okay, because it said
Yes.
Port Hardy,
Yeah, that's.
but not indirectly in Port Hardy.
Well, actually,
Well,
that
that
would
is
have been in
important.
Port Hardy, would have been on the property, that they bought.
Okay, okay, thank
That
you.
is one.
Okay. That happened. Okay, we'll let them off the hook then. I did have a comment also on the tax. So their response on the emergency equipment provincial sales tax rebate
Mhm.
basically said it applies to all these things. It didn't specifically, it doesn't apply to trucks, but it should, and so maybe we need to put forward another resolution that is more specific.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to pay PST on fire trucks? No non-municipal body would buy a fire truck in British Columbia, would it?
No, but it does say that we could approach the procurement services branch staff, to talk to them about it so that they understand it better. So maybe we could send a letter to them or ask staff to reach out to them to say that's what, specifically we want.
Okay, yeah, and see if we got a
Well,
response.
yeah, the procurement one's a little bit different than the tax one, but we need,
True, that's true, too.
we need to, reach out to them because what it's saying there, reach out to us. And let's get some discussions going, but then again, we're dumping some more on our staff, but, yeah, we need to do that. Housing one is similar. I mean, they're all the same.
Yeah, they're both the same.
Yeah.
It's just like the same responses as always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
thanks for your,
But it also says the Ministry of Finance staff are available to assist us.
Great, right there.
Let's be assisted, especially with housing. They, housing has reorganizing has money that's. And I actually have a comment about the next letter too.
But it's both to do with the fire equipment, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Only if,
maybe,
if we could organize a meeting of council with the service branch.
Mhm.
Counselor Darwood?
if it would be, appropriate, maybe staff could first clarify whether this, tax exemption applies to fire trucks, because I understand from what I read here that it doesn't.
Mhm.
And then how we can work toward it applying.
Yeah.
We as a single municipality, or should we take it back through the process with a more specific request? Because it just doesn't make sense that there isn't a PST exemption on fire trucks, because they're largely bought by municipal and regional government. It's overwhelming.
Seems the same. Yeah, it's not.
And it's just one body taking it from another.
Very
So,
true.
CEO Nelson Smith?
Yeah, we can definitely follow up first, just to make sure that basically if this is what they're saying, then we'll follow up, we'll find out exactly for sure, we can report back. Let you know what some options are in order to go forward, and we can have that discussion with ministry staff as well as to what their recommendation would be, depending on what the answer is. As to what our next steps should be in order to forward that process. Just kind of take the whole discussion and group it together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we could always meet by,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, thank you. Counselor Robertson?
No, I was gonna comment on the next letter.
Oh, the next letter, okay. Any other comments or, suggestions on the provincial response?
Well, the other comment is on the procurement. It does sound like they would be interested in helping us if we could find multiple municipalities in any given year that needed to buy large equipment.
So, and I agree, and we do have representation on the social procurement, the provincial social procurement committee. And I'm surprised that they said that, but, because there's ministry reps on it. But maybe that needs to be, looked at further too.
I think it does. This would be, between Councillor Dennis here and myself, we've been running against brick walls.
Yeah, there's been a lot of resolutions with regards to this in the past that never gone anywhere yet. But it doesn't mean we don't stop, it just means we gotta go at a different angle.
Another suggestion maybe is, can we approach UBCM to coordinate, municipalities and regional districts that need to procure within a certain time frame. So say, whatever they would pick a certain amount of time in advance, everyone in 2024, tell us what you're wanting, and then the provincial government could look to obtain this at a discount, like, could UBCM coordinate it? I guess that's the question.
Councillor Dukas?
Yeah, I was just saying, over to Heather now, with that group in Alberta that does that procurement stuff too, is it Canoe or something like that?
Yeah, so Canoe is the program that's been running in Alberta for a number of years. And so basically what it does is it does the work of tendering the process, and then it takes that step so that we can actually direct purchase from different suppliers. So anything over $75,000 in terms of a service and 150 in terms of a good has to be put on TILMA. We have to follow TILMA regulations and put on BC bid. This gives us the opportunity because they've already done the
The
legwork
homework.
and the tendering process. All we have to do is post a notice on BC bid saying that we're going to use Canoe. So that's one that's helping us. Plus we get a discount, and then there's a bit of an administration fee that comes back to Civic Info, which helps Civic Info, have a bit of funding in order to keep supporting municipalities. And that there is actually a procurement branch of the BC government as well, which if you go to their website, they do have like Staples contracts, vehicle contracts. You can get office furniture, things like that, hotel rates at a reduced price. The option for renting vehicles, et cetera, is all on their website. So it's trying to find a way to combine the two so that you're not duplicating two different things in two different places. That would be where the clarification would need to come in. But I have never seen them do like major purchases like furniture.
Right. Well, and to combine that, volume purchase with supporting our local community and buying what we can locally. But of course, we're not buying a fire truck in Port Hardy, so.
No. So come out of the States.
So could you approach, the procurement services branch and just, clarify with them too, with, if that's possible?
Absolutely.
And I did forget one.
And Councillor Robertson?
Sorry, just with the Infrastructure BC and asking for their assistance. The response is basically, they do this on a fee-for-service basis with other folks, which is kind of missing the point of the motion. So perhaps we could try and establish with them. Well, why don't you answer the question?
I think it needs to be worded a little bit more diplomatically.
Thank you. Well, actually, yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Or
I
not.
mean, I didn't actually mean that in necessarily a pejorative way. I just mean that, that's not the point of where we were going with that motion. And so, and it could go back and forth for another 100 years. But,
But it'd be nice to try to find another direction.
Yeah.
To approach this on.
And actually, and that's the part that's with the next letter too. So.
Not sure what to say with that one.
Just follow up with them and say, we're looking, actually, you know what, I'll bring it up. I was gonna bring it up with the next letter anyway.
Okay. Okay, so we'll leave that one for now. We could still lobby on a regular basis when we go to UBCM and or at ABICC when we're there too. All right, going on to the next one from Jen Ford, UBCM president, with the provincial request for inventory of municipal land for housing for information. And Councillor Robertson had a comment.
Yeah, what they're asking for an inventory of land, municipal land that can be used for housing. And I think that's a great idea. And we don't have a staggering amount, but we have some, and, we can join that process. What I would be more concerned about or more interested in is provincial land that can be used locally for provincial housing. So, and at that point, if we can, at which we've started to go down that road and had a little bit more success lately. And it's once that land can be identified for potential projects, that we can then approach BC Infrastructure with something more specific and say, here we have a project. We would like some of your expertise for this. And by the way, the fee for service will be at a negotiated rate of $1, which sort of assumes the negotiations. But anyway, it was just that, what we're looking at is the opposite of what they're looking at is, and where they need to also look is provincial land that is local, that can be also used for housing. That needs to be a part of that inventory as well.
Yeah.
That was a few points.
So I know that our Director of Corporate and Development Services was going to be answering this, email with, I believe it's our Director of Corporate Services, or maybe it's the CAO who's going to be answering this letter with, our inventory. But when it's asked, or when it's sent in, I'm wondering if maybe we could ask if they are going to be, doing an inventory of provincial property that's in municipalities or close to municipalities that could be available.
Or that we could take in trade.
No,
Yeah.
for $1.
Well, yeah, right.
We'll trade them in a partnership.
Any other comments, questions?
No.
Okay, moving on to Dr. Ian Pike, BC Injury Research and Prevention Unit, on behalf of the BC Vision Zero in Road Safety Program, and Neil Harrison, Injury Prevention Lead, Population and Public Health, Island Health, with the Speed Radar Sign Project. Councillor Roberts.
No, I was,
Yeah.
I just,
Where?
have a location selected for this?
We would have several locations. The plan is to put up posts and then, drivers get used to a radar sign. So if you move it around, then it would sort of like change up the view of drivers. But, one could be outside the high school, and then the other one we're thinking at, George Beach.
Storage Beach area we were talking about.
And then we would move them around, as necessary.
That's great.
Did we get input from the RCMP on where they have problems with speeders and that?
We haven't yet, but,
somebody did mention school zones. I just wonder if there's some that we aren't really aware of.
we will be able to tell them where the speeders.
Perfect.
Thank you.
License plate numbers too.
No.
no,
It's just a thought.
So we have a proclamation request from Laurent Barreau, General Director of Foundation Emergence, on making May 17th, that's an International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia, sponsored by Councillor Dugas. Councillor Dugas, would you like to speak on this?
No.
Well, I definitely think this is important. Important thing that we should all remember, that in the communities that we live in, that we have to be respectful for everyone. And unfortunately, in the past, and a number of other areas in our country, unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. And I think this is just another recognition. And they say a lot about Quebec, and this has been going on there for quite a while, number of years. I think they said, was it 2003 or something like that? So it's been around for a long time, and I think that this is something that should be recognized right across Canada, and I think if we could be a part of that, I think that's great. So I'm asking for councils to approve this moving forward.
Moved by Councillor Dorwood, seconded by Councillor Tidburn. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Thank you.
We also have from Kim Brooks, the patient advocate and volunteer coordinator, a proclamation requests for May 2023 as Guillain-Barré syndrome, chronic inflammatory demyelinating
That was a tough one.
That's a really tough one.
polyneuropathy awareness month.
Mhm.
Again, sponsored by Councillor Lucas.
Yeah, and if we look at a little bit of the part that they have on there, when we open it up, it talks about a number of different things, but I think that's what we're talking about is, and I looked it up online, it said the Guillain-Barré syndrome is a rare disorder where the body's immune system damages the nerve. The damage to the nerves causes muscle weaknesses and sometimes paralysis. While its cause is not fully understood, the syndrome often follows infection with a virus or bacteria. And they're saying that this thing could affect like 1 in 1,000 people. Like, I mean, it's not something that we should take lightly. And I think that if we can support this proclamation, I think it's important because we have to recognize people that have to deal with this. And unfortunately, they don't really have a choice. So I think this is something that we should support. So I'm asking the council to support this date for the proclamation, and thank you.
Seconded. Councillor Tidbury. Any comments or questions?
I think it's a great idea. I've seen family members affected by Guillain-Barré syndrome, and it's usually as a result, a lot of times they find studies with Epstein-Barr virus, which almost every one of us has, and I suffer from chronically because of Lyme disease. So seeing that, and even seeing it with Christy's dad, Gary, go through it, and then the healing time is it's crazy. The point where you literally can't move your legs or anything, to like regaining a lot of it if you're lucky. But yeah, it's quite something to watch them go through that. But anytime you can raise awareness is good, because a lot of these times, a lot of this stuff's really hard to get diagnosed because there isn't awareness of it. So not only is it hard for patients to recognize it, it's hard for doctors too, because they don't see it very often. They don't hear about it. It gets misdiagnosed and I see that with Lyme disease and stuff. So the more we advocate for it, the more everyone gets educated on it, and the easier it gets diagnosed for people too. So I'm all for it.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Council. Excellent. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried. So for information from Interfor Corporation, 10-year dispositions in coastal British Columbia. Questions, comments, Councillor Robinson?
I was trying to ferret out of this, what the consultation is and how this has an impact on our area. And I wasn't particularly successful at that. So I'm just wondering if we could ask for a consultation with our friendly forester, Ione, and ask her for just an opinion of how does this have an impact on us and how it does, and is there any actions that we need to do? I didn't strike me that there was, but I don't know that for sure. And it's dealing with, it's actually, if I'm understanding you correctly, quite a big deal in terms of transferring close to 500,000 cubic meters of cut to First Nations, and the TFL is being transferred, and it's a massive amount of fiber that we're looking at and potential. Anyway, I just need to understand more what's cooking here.
Councillor Gold?
I want to always say this, but great minds think alike. I had the exact same thoughts.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't see what it is, but I don't have the knowledge, the
No.
depth of knowledge to know whether, and I have to get a professional opinion.
Yeah.
What a response.
There's a lot of talk about it,
Yeah.
a lot of rumors, and a lot of this might affect this and that. It would be nice to hear from someone like her that could really say exactly what's happened, because there's a lot like, oh, it's, you know, they're not gonna be issuing any new cuts until this is done, you know, Holbrook's down because, or this is down because, it'd just be nice to know.
Well, won't affect Cobra because Cobra is TFL six.
Yeah, true.
It's not, yeah, anyway, I would just like more information.
So CAO Nelson Smith, could we, see if Ione would be willing to give, her opinion?
Absolutely, letters already been sent.
Perfect.
Service.
Boy, we haven't even voted on that one. We don't. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and then next, letter from Rebecca Bishop, LGPS Program Officer concerning 2022 volunteer and composite fire department training and equipment notification for information, comments, questions.
Just a comment that I think this is a great program, and I know
Yeah.
when we were at the regional district meeting, that a lot of the fire departments in our region, they all got funding to deal with training and a number of different things that they're doing at the fire department. So for us to get this, I think this is awesome. And I know that the Port Hardy Hospital Auxiliary, they're going to be contributing $30,000 towards that as well, so they can make it even bigger and better for their training. They're talking about getting CCANs and putting them in place so they can have proper training. I think it's gonna be awesome for our guys.
Yeah.
Great program.
Counselor Tigger, do you have anything?
I'll reflect, what Dennis is saying. It's good. There's some big ideas on the horizon.
I agree. It's good news.
Big ideas, I like it.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll say no more.
No, that's right.
So going on to committee reports, the draft minutes of the Port Hardy Bear Smart Committee meeting, March 8th, 2023. And unfortunately, Councillor Smith is sick, so she can't talk about the Bear Smart Committee and what's happening, but I'm wondering if our CAO just wants to make a couple comments.
I have one too.
Okay.
I'll let,
The CAO, okay.
So this weekend, we are hosting the Teddy Bear Picnic at the Civic Center. So we're mixing it up a little bit for Bear Smart this year. And so we're hosting a little bit of lunch for children that are between 2 and 8 years old. And we have their parents coming as well. The Conservation Service will be there with some pelts and some skulls and some information. We're gonna have some fun games, a little bit of lunch and some goodie bags to go home to the kids, as well as a bunch of information. And then we've also partnered with a few of the restaurants in town to have an activity sheet given out. We've provided some crayons and some placemats with some cool Bear Smart activities on there to promote Bear Smart as well. And then, of course, we're running our usual social media campaign throughout the week. So that is what is going on.
Thank you.
and my question is from another citizen that talked to me today. And that person's thoughts were, do we have time when we put out garbage on delivery days? Is there a time in that?
It's after 7 a.m. and it has to be back in your house by 5 p.m.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions?
I brought up the question.
You did, thank you. Draft minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held on February 27th, 2023 for information, comment, question. Okay, staff report,
Well, just one comment and just to thank staff and Normie for all the hard work that they're doing to put that final stuff together.
Yeah.
for us. I think they did an excellent job and really appreciate all your effort. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
the auditors are in this week, so she's even busier.
Good luck with that.
On to staff report regarding proclamations. So, just because proclamations are coming forward and, so we wanted to just make it clear how they're dealt with and what they've done. And so, CAO's Nelson Smith, do you want to just speak to it briefly?
Yeah, so we have a policy in place, and so what had been happening in the past, just to kind of give everybody just a little bit of a background, what had been happening in the past is we would basically wipe clean all the proclamations at the beginning of every year and we would go forward. But then what we would end up having is all of the same
Them all.
proclamations coming back and forth, coming back to the table. So what we did is we adopted a process in which we carry forward the proclamations so that council doesn't have to keep sponsoring them. And then we just keep adding to the list. And we bring the list forward to council for consideration, just to make sure that these are still all the ones that we want to continue to support. And then also remove any of the ones that we know are no longer active at this point in time. So then it just kind of gives council a bit of an idea as to what we are supporting. And especially because we do carry it year to year, some councilors might not be aware of what we've previously supported as well. So we will continue when proclamations come forward, we'll email them out. If there is a sponsor, it will come forward. I do just want to make one comment, is that when we do the proclamations, we always do something in order to observe said proclamation. The majority of what we do is either on the marquee or on our social media pages. There are times when we do events, like for Pitch-In Week and for Public Works Week, we tend to do something to support that. And then there's other things where sometimes the counselor will kind of take the lead on, for instance, we did a missing children's day at the rec center where we took pictures of kids and we had the RCMP there. And we did these great little missing children booklets for the kids, and the Lions actually helped out with that as well. So that was great. But it just gives council an idea as to kind of some of those extra things that we're also supporting. So just to keep in mind that every time we adopt a proclamation, there's staff time.
Thank you.
Do we
Councilor
have,
Robinson?
just asking, do we have a rainbow flag?
We do.
And I was just thinking with May 17th.
We have two.
We could fly the rainbow flag on May 17th.
Okay. Which one's May 17th?
It's the one we just adopted.
Oh, yes.
Councilor
Do
Dorwin?
we need to add the two that we just adopted onto this?
Yeah, so that was my question.
I recommend we add those two to this list. Make that recommendation.
Do we have to do that?
No, you don't need to. do
We
that.
just
They'll
did.
be added automatically.
Oh.
That's what I thought. I thought, okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments, questions? And then again, our CAO, Heather Nelson Smith, 3, the mayor and council code of conduct.
Did we vote on that?
No.
We didn't vote on that.
Oh, sorry, about the proclamations. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying we need a mover, seconder.
Oh, moved by Councillor Dugas, seconded by Councillor Tidbury. All in favor? Carried. Going on to the next one, Heather Nelson Smith, CAO, Mayor and Council Code of Conduct for information. Do you want to speak to that?
Just briefly, so we do have a requirement under the act to adopt a code of conduct within 6 months of council taking office. So that would put us at about May. Because we did that, we actually adopted our code of conduct prior to the legislation being required. And then we reviewed it at a committee of the whole meeting, which was a public meeting, which was what we were legislated to do. And there were no changes except for some administrative, bullets and things being kind of moved about. And so there was no changes, but in order to report back to the community and to the province to inform them that we have actually done our due diligence, we have done our process, we have a signed code of conduct in place. This is our way of sharing that information to the community.
So do you need a motion?
I don't actually need a motion because we already have a previous motion from
Okay.
before.
Okay, and I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that we all unanimously signed it without hesitation. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to current bylaws and resolutions, bylaw number 1158-2023, council remuneration amendment bylaw for adoption.
Sorry.
Moved by Councillor Darwood, seconded by Councillor Dugas. Comments? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 1159-2023, animal control amendment bylaw for adoption. Moved by Councillor Darwood, seconded by Councillor Robertson. I just want to make a comment. I want to thank our Director of Corporate Services and Development Services for bringing this forward as timely as he did. I had a few different emails from citizens about asking about this, making it easier for family members to move to Port Hardy. And so with this amendment, and they're able to bring their aging animals, and they have to go through the steps to do it, but they can do it. So thank you very much. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 1160-2023, Growing Communities Reserve Fund bylaw for first, second, and third readings. Moved by Councillor Robertson, seconded by Councillor Tidbury. CAO Nelson Smith, do you want to just briefly explain why we have to do this, or please?
It was gonna happen. I read this one. What's this?
So, let me just pull it up here so that I have it on my. So it is a requirement. So we're getting this $1.9 million positive to us from the government. As a requirement, we are required to create a bylaw in which it is in a statutory reserve. So what this means is that we can't use it for operating, we can't use it for anything. Council by resolution has to approve the expenditure of that. So basically what it is it's like a safeguard to make sure that the funds aren't going to be used inappropriately for anything else other than the items in which they have brought forward and said that we can spend it on. There's also a bunch of other requirements where we're going to be reporting on that. We're going to have to do signage and some other wonderful things that are, reporting that we have to do. But just in terms of the breadth of what we could actually spend that money on, we got public drinking water and supply treatment facilities, recreation, childcare facilities, municipal and regional capital projects that service directly or indirectly neighboring First Nation communities, wastewater, stormwater, solid waste, public safety, local road improvement, sidewalks, active transportation, improvements to facilitate transit services, natural hazard mitigation, park additions, recreation related amenities. So those are all of the things that we can spend it on, but just in terms of the reporting, we'll also be reporting to you on the interest earned on said fund as well.
Thank you. And I just want to make a comment too, that how great it is that we've gotten this funds. I mean, we always want more, but it's a great amount, but it's also a recognition, I think, of the government. We've been lobbying for many years on being able to have a grant that we don't have to specifically say when we apply for the grant, that's what it's going to be used for. This is much more general, so we've got a lot more freedom in what we're using it for. So
Discretion.
yeah, the discretion is wonderful, and so maybe we should thank the provincial government for recognizing that and doing it too.
Yeah, no, it's a whisker shy of $2 million, which is a significant part of our budget, of an annual budget. And if you put that with the COVID relief money, which was pretty important for us to get, but it's some commitment to communities in the province, so.
I like your suggestion. Let's send a letter of thanks. I don't think they hear it enough, and
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a good idea.
So just one more letter to write.
Maybe they'll remember that when we go to UBCM.
Yeah. So,
You sent some of that banana bread with it.
Yes, yes.
Devoured it before I could
Yeah,
share. it.
sorry. That was very good too.
I had your share, I really enjoyed it.
I didn't even get a piece. So had a mover and a seconder, all in favor? Carried. All right, we have no pending bylaws, council reports, verbal reports, council, starting with Councilor Robertson.
Say, thanks. There was, I think I brought it up last time, but Foundry is, looking at a soft opening in May, I think. And so that's ongoing. Don't hold us to that date, but it's getting close to finishing up the internal work. And so that's all. And the board is working towards it. I was at several different Vancouver Island Regional Library Board meetings, and working on a lot of the facilities master plan and strategic planning. Facilities are a challenge for a library board, as they are for all municipalities right now. And they're looking at a new build in Nassau. And it was actually, I have to say, quite funny, quite interesting. We had the general meeting, the board meeting, and the council representing Nassau was attending remotely. And we were talking about this, and it's very expensive, and there's lots of discussion about the challenges of how expensive rural construction builds are, especially on Highway Black. Anyway, she chimed in partway. She talked about it, was part of the discussion, and then she chimed in halfway through and said, "And here I am outside of the building that you're replacing." So she lived just across from it, so we got to have the discussion around the building. So it was kind of cool. So anyway, so those are some real, all communities are struggling with that. The TELUS lunch was interesting. And Councillor Dorwood brought up about the cell coverage, trying to increase the cell coverage here. And I just sort of, with what I'm going to say next, MLA Michelle Babchuk was appointed recently as the Premier's Special Advisor on Connectivity. So, and they announced a $30 million budget for it. So we would do well to talk to her about how we could get connectivity from Sayward through to Port McNeill, where there are no power lines, and it's a huge challenge. But anyway, it's interesting that that's what she is doing these days as well. And then one of the things that took up a lot of time was when the MLA was up here, I was going around to various meetings with her as well. So it's folks. That's me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Dukes.
Yeah, well, I'll let our mayor talk about our Wanted Regional District. We were at finance meetings and different things that were happening, and so that was awesome. Had lots of Philomi Day meetings. Just had one the other night here, trying to get it all organized. But I think the big thing with regards to Philomi Days is always volunteers. And every group, I think that nonprofit group or organization and community is all in the same boat, right? We need more volunteers because it's a big event. It's 3 days, and there's a lot of things going on, and you need people to help. Right from the parade right up to the fireworks. I mean, I know John, he's really looking for people to help with the fireworks, right? Setting up and taking down. It's a big job.
You got us to take down. We got you covered for that. No problem.
That's good. Okay, we'll need somebody to help set
Heavy
up.
lifters.
Yeah, younger guys.
Yeah, younger guys, that's right. Yeah, and I had the opportunity to go into the theater play that was put on at the Civic Center last Friday. It was awesome. Jackie had the Beanstalk, and I really thank Trish for putting that on. That was excellent. It was a lot of fun. North Island Seniors Housing Foundation was still talking on a regular basis with BC Housing and a number of different groups working on getting set up to get the site preparation done. We had a wonderful meeting today with Numata. It was awesome. I'll let the mayor, she can talk about that. It was really great. I really enjoyed that. And Vintas, our marketing meeting, we're always getting together once a month and talking about what's happening in our area for regards to training and attraction. And there's going to be an ECDEV forum coming up on April 5th and 6th at Seven Hills. Unfortunately, not everybody is invited to that, but there'll be a number of different people there at that meeting. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Skipper.
I want to elaborate on the Philomenides, and just as one, we're sending out either by Facebook or some sort of method to individuals that would like to volunteer, but they just like to volunteer in one look at one thing, maybe do help the kids out or just clean up or do something. They don't have to be there all the time. So we're sending out notifications on that and see if that will encourage more volunteers to come forward.
It will. I've heard people say, like, if I could just do one little thing and that'd be it and I can walk away, I would.
And that's what
I think you'll have great
we're
success with
thinking
that.
about now. So
Very
that,
smart.
yeah, things are going along just fine. The bands are all looked after right now. The food vendors and are starting to come along. We're gonna block a bit more of the road off this time. We're gonna go to on Douglas Street or Highway 19. We're gonna go right up to Rupert Street now, so because the Appletons want to encourage to bring vintage cars there as well as their own cars for a kind of a show and tell in that area. There's going to be a bingo this time, and Justin's going to put on the volleyball again.
Awesome.
We have we're gonna have to find a better spot than where we had it last year.
The ball kept on going in the beer garden.
Pardon?
The ball kept on going into the beer garden.
Yeah, well, there was that as well as
Somebody go get it,
coming
get
onto
back,
the
get
stage too, so.
Mhm.
But so we have to look at that. I've been talking with Brian about boosting the power supply to the park, and we're looking into that. So we could have like more vendors plug into the system, as well as other people to plug into that system. The seniors are still going strong. And just last week, we had a very successful jigs dinner. It was well received. And the members, we're getting new members constantly now coming to want to join the seniors. And by the way, you don't have to be a really old person to consider yourself a senior. You know, you can, we like young ones too. They can do some of the work. The man from Telus.
Keep everyone busy.
The man from Telus, after our meeting in council chambers, I took him up to the senior center, and he was there for at least 4 to 5 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, John
John had a
kidnapped
lot
him.
of-
and took him.
Are we gonna get service for the next month? and a half?
Yeah.
So it was a good meeting with him, and well, long story short, we had problems getting TV boxes, but he's figured a way around that. The twinning I enjoyed today. Next year is 30th year, which is a big year, and for people that are out in the audience there, I was one of the councillors that actually got the twinning organized in this town 30 years ago. So I've been around a while. I know you will.
Almost as long as I've been alive.
Which is.
On behalf of all of council, thank you for.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I attended a couple of emergency meetings, marine spill meeting. We're gonna talk about doing some exercises with all departments. We talked to Nika, and she's gonna maybe organize a boat that we can rescue. And that's in the planning station.
Yeah.
But it's, when we say a boat, it's so that we can get all departments involved, like the Coast Guard and as well as the fire department, as well as everybody else. So we're kind of working on that right now. And that's basically it for me. But
Thank you.
I'm glad you all enjoyed my.
Always do.
Council Texmo.
So I attended the TELUS meeting too. It was good to have a voice come here that has a bit of pull and listen to us kind of ramble on our wants and needs. And it sounded like we got to bring, like Jenna bringing up, the coverage between here and McNeil and on down on. It's good for him to hear that and hear that it's something that we really want, especially even just between Hardy and McNeil, because once he mentioned that, if there's a power lines there, we can do it. And then we are like, oh, okay, and there you go. Why isn't McNeil done? Yeah. So kind of lobbying for that is good. And then I attended my first emergency committee meeting with John, albeit it was a fairly short one, but I got to at least get my feet wet in that one and talk briefly about the response there, the training.
It didn't help that they had a.
Yeah, they had a call out right as it started, as we got in the thick of it, so getting my feet wet with that was good. We got a Vintac meeting coming up here pretty quick, so that one to do. It's good, the more I kind of get my feet wet into all these meetings and get to meet everybody and get more associated is good, so that's it for me.
So yeah, I obviously was at the TELUS meeting as well. I thought Shay, as you mentioned, he was really receptive and he was really seemed like he wanted to help our community get more connected, and I thought that was really good. And I look forward to, what's gonna change for us to the good in the near future. I think we all saw on social media, Jill Brown's class at Eagleview did little thank you notes to all the different departments.
Cool. Yeah.
That was just amazing. And then I ran into her at this Eagleview field and chatted with her, and both her and the kids were like, I had no idea how many things the municipality does in our community. I think it's great that that whole class of children are now aware of, all the different departments that takes even from a small community. So I thought that was really great of her to do that. And thank people that rarely get thanked. We usually just hear complaints, right? So really a great action, and really applaud her as a teacher. I also attended the theater camp, the theater camp performance at the end of the week. You would never know they were only there for 5 days. It was so good.
Yeah.
So when I got there, I went to the foyer and the kids were all handing out programs. And I said, is this where the fabulous performance is? And they're like, no, this is where the ultra fabulous performance is. And you know what? It was ultra fabulous. At the end, I'm like, ultra fabulous. So it was really good. So again, our recreation department just continuing to rock it all.
Killing it,
Yeah, totally. I attended the chamber lunch today. It was the chambers, Port Hardy and Port McNeil chambers. And the chairman of the BC Chamber of Commerce Board was there. His name was Dr. Greg Thomas, that's like him. He's an aquatic toxicologist. Actually, I wouldn't mind hearing more about that, but he didn't talk about that at all. He's also studied policy governance, and he was on the BC Board of Trade. So he's got some great experience. He's actually just on his own time traveling around. But he's stopped in at various communities, and just to remind everyone that BC Chamber is there to be the voice of small business in British Columbia. They represent 36,000 small businesses. So, and I want to make sure that they're answering the question, what can the BC Chamber do for its membership?
Did a good turnout?
Yeah, it was huge. Never seen so many cars at the golf course. It was actually packed, right?
It was, There's very few empty seats
Yeah.
in there.
I guess over 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all
Sounds
attended.
good.
And the food was outstanding.
It was.
Actually, probably a couple incredible person.
Right there, and then attending the Nevada meeting today, it was great to see old friends from Nevada. And they're coming here sometime around Columbia Days, and a contingent is hoping to go there next year. They look like they really want to welcome us again. They're just, their hospitality starts like the year before. It's just amazing. So that's it for me.
So thank you. So some of my stuff, I wanted to thank Counselor Dugas for stepping up while I was away. It was very greatly appreciated and I had a great holiday. Since I've been back, so I was greeted with the little notes from Jillian Brown's class from Eagle View, and I wonder if the confidential secretary would just say a little bit of how the presentation went when they came, because I thought that was very touching.
Yeah, there's myself and a couple other staff members in the office. And Jillian had each of her students who had done up a little card with a thank you for our parks or our arena or, so each student brought in their little message and said it out loud to us and handed them in. So we'll be preparing a thank you back to the class, and that's in the works right now. So we're excited to share that once more.
Awesome.
One of the said, thank you for the pool.
Yeah.
Dot, dot, dot. I added the dot, dot, dot. They did a great job. I think you could tell they were really nervous. So they're beautiful.
Again, banana bread worthy.
We might all have to bake.
So it was really touching to come back and seeing that, and I wish I'd been here or more council was here when they came in, because that was pretty touching. The other really touching thing that I got to do, that was instigated by Deputy Mayor Dugas, was the Canada-China Language and Tourism Culture Bridge Association was here for a few days. And this is an organization that has about 200 members, I think the interpreters said. It's based out of Richmond, but they take children from all over the Vancouver area that are Chinese. And they have different programs. And the program that was up here was like a tourism video program. They had heard about Port Hardy. So they brought how many children up?
Oh, it must have been 6 or so.
Oh,
I didn't see them all. I only saw like a few of them. So
okay.
I thought maybe I saw 5 maybe, but
Okay,
there
I
was
thought
more. There was more.
Yeah, and so they were just touring around Port Hardy and doing videos, and they came in and they interviewed me. And I put on the chain, and I had a little 9-year-old interview me, and after the interview, she said she wanted to move to Port Hardy. And they're gonna be putting their video on YouTube, and I asked them to share that with us when it's done, and it was pretty sweet, and yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. So that was really neat. I had a meeting with the president of NSC on economic development training, and we had a Zoom meeting, and they've been approached by the provincial government about the concern on the old growth logging strategy, and as well on agriculture, and if things don't go the way maybe we want them to go, or it's going to be affecting our citizens on what kind of economic development training can be done. So we kind of brainstormed different ideas. Went to the theater play as well, the Jackie and the Beanstalk. And again, I can't reiterate how much I enjoyed that. On Sunday, I'd like to thank Councillor Tidbury for reminded me about the production that was put on by the Concert Society, and the 2 performers there were amazing. And as I was leaving, I said to the young singer, I don't know, he looks like he's about 18, but I think he's
A little
bit
older.
than that, that I hope I'm able to afford when I see him next, because I can only imagine that he's going to be going, and he's going to be maybe the next Michael Bublé. his voice and the range was incredible. And I know it was on a Sunday night and it's spring break, but unfortunately there wasn't a big crowd there, and the performers that come in are stellar performers, and our concert society really needs to be better supported. So anyways, the next one is April 29th, and it's a Beatles
Tribute.
tribute, and I would think it's gonna be huge. Attended an Aboriginal Coalition to End Homelessness meeting, talking about how they can help our community and our most vulnerable people. So stay tuned. I think that is going to start really snowballing and gathering steam and should be really good. Attended the Nomada Zoom with our counterparts there, and as everybody has said, that was here for that was very, very good, and it was really good to see, as Councilor Dorwart said, familiar faces and new faces, and how enthused they are about coming to Port Hardy, and I look forward to having them here. So that'll be good. This afternoon, I attended with our CAO and our Director of Corporate Services. I went out and saw the totem pole that's been carved by Calvin Hunt for down at their visitor center, and it's looking really, really neat, and it's going to be very special. Was at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and that was very interesting, and it was nice having the joint meeting and what we can do, and they're going to be working together. And so they've been awarded different funds that are very secret and aren't allowed to be released quite yet, but should make for a very good summer for the chambers. I attended the regional district meeting, and the finances have been approved and will be public soon, and the things are coming along. Unfortunately, they're going to be their economic development person that they thought had been hired and hasn't been hired, and they're gonna have to repost, and now they're looking at how to reconfigure out some of the postings, and so that'll be going.
Welcome to our world.
Welcome to our world, yeah. So recruitment and retention is huge. The hospital board meeting, we had a very interesting presentation by Island Health, and all the different projects that they've got and the people that they're hiring and have hired and different things that are going on. So again, recruitment is huge, and hopefully our health crisis, that it's not just Port Hardy, but it's BC-wide, Canada-wide. And so it's how to make our communities as attractive as possible. So hopefully our citizens will make our communities as attractive as possible and invite people here. The other thing that I've done today, actually, and through the help of our CAO, is draft a letter to the minister about iced tea, or Island Coastal Economic Development, or Island Coastal Economic Trust, that has been an amazing resource for the North Island and for all of Vancouver Island, and unless we get some sustainable funding, it will be dissolved. So I signed a letter from the chair, Mayor Aaron Stone from Ladysmith, and he's got all the mayors signing, but as well on behalf of council, and our CAO put together a letter that's going into the minister as well, just directly from the town of Port, or the district of Port Hardy, saying we need sustainable funding, and having a dissolution of iced tea will not do our citizens any benefit at all. So let's see. So that's all in the week and a bit that I've been home. Councilor Robertson.
Just two things. I hope that letter is sent special delivery to be received no later than tomorrow.
It went out today.
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of a window, and probably not realistic for spending some money that they have on hand that
Yeah.
would work for that, which I'm assuming is
And actually,
consistent.
Mayor Stone was very emphatic that this letter from all the mayors on the island that, were signing on to it went today and,
Mhm.
Just need you to sign it.
oh, I will sign it.
Letting you go.
I just have one last thing, and I would like to actually apologize for missing a meeting with the Aboriginal Coalition to End Homelessness, which was on Monday, and I missed it, so I do apologize.
It's okay.
Anyway,
Thank you. All right, so I think that's about it. For information and announcements, you can see there's lots of things happening.
mhm.
So April 21st, 1 o'clock, all communities invited to the Pitch in Week event. And, so we'll be out there in full force.
Are we meeting here for that, or where are we meeting? At Carrot Park?
We're gonna, I believe we're meeting at. Would I need Sweet Creek or Ferry? I will have to get back to you.
I think
Okay.
last time we met at
Carrot Park, we met.
Yeah, Carrot Park
I
last
mean,
year.
they handed out all the bags.
Right.
We left them there.
Okay.
I was just checking.
That's the Friday, right?
Mhm.
That's a Friday, yeah.
Good.
And we have a notice of in-camera meeting on Friday, March 31st at 9 a.m. And, motion to adjourn. Questions pertaining to the agenda? Anyone online or in the audience?
Online.